So let me create a new script, which would be a Spark script, which is essentially a PySpark. I do not need anything. I do not need any one of these. The only thing that I need is the glue context and the Spark context. So first I'll create a data frame which will read from S3, and as the transaction table is empty, I'll load the transaction table. So this is the folder. I do not need to do any transformation because I'm just reading the file and loading it to the MySQL table. And here, to write to the MySQL table, I'll have to use the data frame writer with the format JDBC. So I'll use df1.write.format. It would be JDBC and all the other options that you have seen so far. The first option would be the JDBC URL, which I have not provided yet. So let's just use it in a variable. So I'll pass the variable, and in the JDBC URL, I'll provide the Aurora endpoint. Let's go ahead and get the Aurora endpoint. So this is Aurora MySQL, and this is the writer endpoint. We'll have to use the writer endpoint. Just copy this, and here I'll paste it. I'll have to provide the port also. I had created the Aurora MySQL with 3306 port, as you can see here. And also I'll have to provide the database name. Either we provide the database name here, or you can provide the database name in the DB table option also. But let me go ahead and provide it here also, which is FinanceDB. But this is not over here yet, because this is not a JDBC URL yet. So we'll have to provide the JDBC option colon, then the driver that we want to use, which is MySQL colon /. Now it has become a JDBC URL. Okay, so the JDBC URL is done. That is the first option. Let's provide the second option, which is the name of the table using DB table, and it would be the transaction table, which is this one, and that's it. And I'll have to provide other options like user, then password. I'll provide the password later on. And then an important one would be the driver. So here we'll have to provide the driver option also, which is this one, com.mysql.cj.jdbc.driver. This is the one that I have to provide for MySQL. And then finally, I'll have to provide the mode, which should be append, and then the save API. That's it. We are done. We have written the PySpark script, which will read from the Spark CSV file and write it to the MySQL table, which is in Aurora. The JDBC URL that you have got is from Aurora. So it starts with JDBC colon, then MySQL colon, then /. This is something that we have provided. From here till here is the Aurora endpoint. But after that, we have provided colon, the port number, which is 3306, then / and the database name. This is the syntax of the JDBC URL. And then we have used the data frame itself to write to the table. The name of the table is transaction. So this is done, and then some job details. This is the name of the program, and then IAM role. All these things would remain the same, but one thing would change. The first thing is that we cannot provide a connection because we are not using Glue Data Catalog. If you do not use Glue Data Catalog, we cannot provide the connection. So in that case, we'll have to provide the dependent jars here. So this is the place where we'll have to provide the dependent jars. Jar would be provided only for the drivers. If there are additional Python module, we'll have to upload the Python module in S3 and provide that S3 path. Similarly, I'll download the jar and then upload it in S3 and provide the S3 location. And this is the URL where I should be able to get the MySQL jar. In the operating system, select platform independent and then download this tar gz. I'll not log in, just start the download. So the download is done. And in the download folder, I can see this MySQL connector. Let me just extract it. And inside of this folder, I have the jar file followed by all the other peripheral files which are not needed. So I'll copy this jar file to an S3 folder, which is jar files. I have created this inside of 3IAM Spark. I'll upload the jar file here. And this is the jar file at its bare minimum. And let's copy the URI. Now this is where my dependent jar file is, and I'll have to provide the location here. If you have multiple jar files, let's say you have MySQL, Postgres, Redshift, everything are there in a PySpark code, and you have to use different jars. So you can provide multiple jars by using comma. So just use comma and then provide the S3 location where your next jar file is. That's all about it. And let's go through the script again. I'm just reading from the file and then writing it to MySQL. I'll provide the password. Okay, the job is ready. Let's execute the job now. And again, it is PySpark. I'm not using Glue API. Neither am I using the Visual ETL. The job completed successfully. It took 5 minutes 7 seconds. Let's look at the number of tables in transaction table. We have 5 million records. So the job loaded all the records. Okay, now I just wanted to take a look at Spark UI and wanted to show you how different it is than the Glue API script. We have this load add native. This is for the infer schema. That's why the number of tasks is only 1. Then it is actually reading the file with 36 tasks, and then it is writing to the MySQL table. Now, if you go to the SQL data frame and let's look at this one. So it says save into data source command. This is not the one actually. So it is reading from CSV and then deserializing to object. So it is using data frame. There is no mention of RDD. And the reason there's no mention of RDD because this is a data frame operation. It read from the CSV file and wrote it to the MySQL table. The important configuration here in the job details is that I have provided the dependent jars in the libraries, in the Python libraries, nothing else. Let me show you that there is no connection also. There are no current connections. I have not used any connections because I'm not using the Glue API. I'm using vanilla PySpark to read from a CSV file and write it to a MySQL table. That's what I have done. But the execution environment was Glue. So this is how we can use Glue to execute PySpark code the way it is supposed to be, but without using Glue script. Let's perform a few more operations like reading from MySQL table and writing into Redshift. I'll do the same using Glue Visual ATL and then PySpark.